Hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Abby.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. So we have our true crime, super sleuth, couch detective, whatever you want to call it, back with us, Abby. But she also has some really exciting news. Before we even get into what the topic is today, she has some really exciting news. Abby, can you tell us what's going on with you?
I'm engaged.
Yay! So that's really exciting. How does it feel?
It feels good. It's been really fun. We did our engagement photos tonight. So yeah, haven't picked a wedding date yet, but we're in the process. So
yeah, it could probably be kind of hard right now too, especially because our place is still kind of like up in the air about like COVID stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't really looked too much into it yet. We've just like met with the priest from the church that we want to get married at. So to like, because we're Catholic, so we had to kind of get that process started.
Got it. So then you have to do it in your church anyway. Oh, so that's a little bit easier then.
Yeah. Well, they have like a bunch of marriage prep stuff that you have to do for the Catholic Church, which I mean, I've enjoyed what we've done so far. I think it's like really valuable. It gets you to have like those conversations. Like, so it's been good.
Yeah, that's good. And I think too, even if you aren't Catholic, if you're Christian in general, if you're Jewish, honestly, if you're an atheist, you definitely should do premarital counseling.
Yeah, I agree. I like that the Catholic Church requires it. I think it's valuable for everyone.
Yeah. I've been to certain churches, you know, like with Protestants, like it's their own, like this is their own thing. I've been to certain churches where they won't marry you unless that you do premarital, and they also won't marry you unless they know you fairly decently. So like they won't do, because I know one of my friends was trying to find a place because he wanted to have a destination wedding. They were trying to find a place and the church was like, well, we don't know you, so we can't sit up there and say, yeah, rah, go for it. So I like that. I think that's very respectable when a church does that. Definitely. I appreciate that, because marriage isn't a joke.
No, it's a big deal. Yeah. It definitely is a little like daunting to think, oh my gosh, the rest of my life. But you know, when you know, like there's just the feeling you have, and you know, you'll get there.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Well, I'm happy for you. That's good news. The rest of the episode is not going to be good news.
Kind of super bummer.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer. Part of the reason why I did want to do this, so we're going to be talking about Lauren Spierer, I
think is
Spierer.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm terrible with names. Okay. I will not say her last name again this episode. We're talking about Lauren, and she part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because, like I said before, we like to do a thing at the end where we talk about a lesson, and I was like a little bit obsessed with this case for a good couple of weeks, and I was like, this is a perfect lesson case. Like, this is the perfect case to talk. There's so many lessons in this, there's so many twists and turns, and I just think this is something that we should be knowledgeable about. And also too, she's still missing, so I think it's good for us to, I mean, who knows who's listening to this, who knows somebody, who knows that they might think they know somebody. So this is just I think this will be a great episode. So this is the case of Lauren, and she went missing in, actually, Abby, you got it from here.
I'll start. I have a little like background and stuff, so we'll start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So Lauren Spierer was born on January 17th, 1991 to parents Charlene and Robert Spierer. She was raised in Scarsdale, New York, which is noted as like a wealthy community. So she had like a pretty good upbringing, it sounds like. Graduated from...
Wait, sorry, 2 seconds. What I was going to say is like something to just think about. Like, when we keep talking, like you said, she has a nice, loving parents. So anything can happen to anybody. Continue.
Yeah, it's sad too, because like I watched interviews with her parents, and they were like, we never, like, dropping her off at college, we never thought she was ever in danger, anything like this could happen.
So sad.
It's really sad. Yeah. But so yeah, she graduated from Edgemont High School in 2009, and then went on to attend Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, where she studied textiles merchandising because she wanted to have a career in the fashion industry. But yeah, a little like kind of interesting thing. I've like never heard of anything like this before, but Lauren had attended Camp Tawanda in Pennsylvania, like during the summers in her youth. And there she met her boyfriend, Jesse Wolf, and another friend, Jay Rosenbaum, who's like kind of a prominent character in the story.
Okay.
And like a bunch of other friends who then they all went to IU together.
So I was listening to a podcast. So her her ethnicity was Jewish, is Jewish if she's still alive. Anyway, and it's apparently the girl on the podcast was saying she's Jewish, and she's like, it's part of like Jewish culture to attend these camps, which is very interesting because I was watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and she attends a camp on the show, and I remember thinking like, that's like, they're adults, why are they doing that? But that's like kind of part of like, and she's from New York, and she's rich, so it kind of like, from my understanding with the girl, the Jewish girl was saying on the podcast, that's just kind of like what they do. You attend like summer camp every year, 8 weeks. It's you and all of your Jewish friends, and that's just kind of how you spend your summers. You make tons of friends. It's like part of their culture, which I just found
really fun.
Yes and no. It sounds fun to be with your friends like that and to meet people that I love the idea. Well, I loved the idea. It's not so much now that we don't have like summers, but I love the idea of like having friends here and then having friends there and then them not meeting. So like, not that you can be different people, but like different parts of your personality can shine. Yeah. I love that. The part that does not sound fun to me is like, you have to be in like tent or like cabins. There's like animals out there. That just doesn't.
You're not into the camping life.
Oh my goodness, no.
Okay,
that is not me. I camped once and it was like it was awful. We
never again for Mallory.
Never again. But yeah, so continue.
So yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that like she had a group of friends from camp and they like all ended up going to Indiana University together. Yeah. Like it's kind of nice for her. She had this like built-in friend group already.
Yeah.
So she went to Indiana University. Freshman year, all was well. And then sophomore year is when this all went down. It was, it happened on Thursday, June 2nd, 2011. Lauren spent the night drinking with several of her friends. Her boyfriend, Jesse, was not there. And all they really have from him that night was they texted back and forth a little bit, and then he went to bed like hours before any of this happened. So he's like not really involved.
Yeah.
But
well, he's not really involved that we know. I know.
Well, he's not like directly there.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Yeah. So,
I mean, who knows? He could be.
Well, I'm saying that because her parents have like, I don't know if I only heard it in one podcast, but they were saying that her parents like set up a lawsuit and including him and a couple others, but we'll get to that later. But yeah,
we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So first I kind of wanted to go through like a little timeline of events.
Yes, perfect.
Of, like what happened. So like I said, she started the night out drinking with several of her friends, but there's sort of this like 4-hour window where like some notable stuff happened. So I'm just gonna like go through that. So first off, at 12:30 a.m. is when Spierer left her apartment with a friend named David Rohn. And they went to that friend I mentioned before, Jay Rosenbaum, who she knew from this camp. They went to his apartment. And that is where Lauren met up with Jay's neighbor, Corey Rossman, who is another prominent character in the story. Mm-hmm. So that's 12:30 a.m. So then 1:46 a.m., Lauren was at Kilroy's sports bar having drinks with her friends. And I mean, yeah, sounds pretty normal, you know, college kid going out. Yeah. It's really late at night. It was the only thing I was like, I am ready for bed by then.
I was thinking like my days when we would go out, especially in college, because that's the other thing I wanted to get into. So like in my college, we had, I mean, it was only really available for a couple of nights because eventually got shut down because people just got too wild. But we had a college night at a bar that was like close. It was called Above because it was like a restaurant, and then like the dance floor was like above. It's cute name.
Fun.
Yeah, so Above was like walking distance. If you really wanted to, you could walk there from campus or like the apartments. Like there's just like a group of apartments near there that weren't school associated, so you could walk there if you really wanted to. And there were a couple of nights where I did, but I would never, like if it's 12:40 and we're not there, I mean, call it a night. I just, that couldn't, I don't know how they did that.
That is one of the things I disliked the most about college, is that people didn't go out until like 10 or 11 p.m. I'm like, I'm trying to be home by then.
right. Like if we, in my head, I was like, if we hadn't, I wouldn't mind leaving at 10. I feel like 10 is not that bad. Like we hadn't made our
reasonable, yeah.
Right. Like if we hadn't made our concrete plans by 10, I was going to bed. That's the other thing too. I just wasn't the type that would just like kind of like wait around like, all right, what to do. Like if we haven't decided by 10, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll try again. You know, we did the Thursday thing too. Thursdays, because most people didn't have classes on Fridays. So Thursdays was our like most popular game. So
I think that's pretty common in college to go out on Thursdays. So Thursday night, 1:46 a.m. she's at the sports bar with her friends. Nothing too out of the ordinary. But then so 2:27 a.m. rolls around, which I'm like, I'm a little confused because all the bars near my college campus closed at 2. So I was about to say, bar doing staying open this late?
Right. 1:45 to like wrap it up. They start turning the lights on. Yeah.
But that was when Lauren left Kilroy's, this bar that she was at, with Corey Rossman, who is her friend Jay Rosenbaum's neighbor. So Lauren, when she left the bar, she left her cell phone and her shoes at the bar.
And that kind of tells you,
that kind of like speaks to her level of inebriation. But I did read that she took her shoes off because they had this like outdoor sand covered patio. And I was like, okay, well, that's a little more understandable because it is kind of hard to walk in the sand with shoes on.
Yeah, that's fair. But you're not.
But the fact that she forgot her shoes and phone, it's like, all right, girl, come on. Like, So Corey then walked Lauren to her apartment complex. They got there at 2:30 a.m. and they walked into the apartment complex she lived. And it's noted that on their way there, a passerby named Zach Oakes like noticed that Lauren was like not doing great, like that she was really, really drunk. And he asked if she was okay. And I guess Corey just kind of brushed him off. He's like, yeah, she's fine. Like, don't worry about it. And kept walking. So, I mean, it was like noticeable how like drunk she was. So then 2:48 rolls around, and Lauren and Corey left Lauren's apartment complex, which I'm like, girl, you are home. Stay home.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta learn, like when the night is over, the night is over.
Yeah, like, nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Like it literally never. Like,
nothing positive. You should be in your bed by 2.
Seriously. So they left her apartment complex and entered a nearby alley. And security camera footage shows them exiting the alley at 2:51 a.m. They walked towards an empty lot, which they later found Lauren's purse and keys, like on this little route that they walked.
I hadn't heard that. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So she's like a mess. She's drunk, she's leaving things, she's losing things. Like, and I read somewhere she tripped and fell twice. Like,
I read somewhere that too.
A mess. Like, and definitely shouldn't be going anywhere, you know?
Yeah. And I heard in one of the podcasts I listened to, she was like, I think it was between going from the bar to her house, a girl saw her fall just head forward and heard the sound of her head hitting the ground. And I'm like, that's a concussion. Because like for you to hit your head that hard on the ground, first of all, you're drunk. You have to be so drunk that you can't even hold your head up. And then second, for them to be able to hear it, that means that was like a really hard hit. If
like somebody get this girl home.
Yeah, that's why we'll get there. But I have so many thoughts.
Every time it comes up that she left her apartment after she was already that drunk, I'm like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah. But sometimes you just gotta know when to end the night. That's lesson number 1, people listening, especially those of you going to college. Just know sometimes you just gotta end the night. There will be another night.
100%.
End it.
See, I'm giving her grace because she's only 20. Like,
right. And
I was also that girl when I was 20. I was like, let's keep the party going.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just 5, y'all. Let's keep going. Yeah.
Let me tell all you 20-year-olds out there, don't go home. Get in bed. You'll thank yourself in the morning. I promise.
And what helps me to get out of that to get out of the mindset, like, we got to keep going. It's like, I realized that just came from a mindset of like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a night like this again, but you literally do. Like,
literally
you can have,
weekend.
right. You can have another good night. Like,
yeah,
it's not like you will have other good nights. Just remember that.
Exactly.
Continue.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so she lost her purse and her keys on this like route. So next, Corey, he is also very intoxicated. He like is stumbling, like, and on the way up to his apartment, he like vomited in the stairwell. So they are both just like hot mess express right now.
Like, they both need to go to bed.
Yes, like definitely. So they go to Corey's apartment and they run into his roommate, Michael Beth, who lives at the same apartment as Corey. And Michael, I guess, had to like drag Corey to bed, like, because he was like so messed up. He like took him to bed and put him in there. And once he came out, he tried to convince Lauren, like, he was like, yo, stay over, like, it's really late, you're really drunk, I'm worried about you, like, just, we got a couch, just stay. And she was like, no, like, I want to go home. She insisted on returning to her apartment. So then at 3:30 a.m., Michael, this roommate, called Jay Rosenbaum, Lauren's friend, who is also his neighbor, and asked if he would come over to take care of Lauren, because I guess Lauren was like trying to get Michael to like go back to her apartment and drink more with her, which I'm like, girl.
Yeah, that's what everybody in all the podcasts, everything I read was saying, that she was definitely like, let's keep going. And like, that is very much, I feel like once you get to a certain level, I mean, that could be your mindset, because, and you have to have people in your life to be like, stop.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and you have to, I guess you also have to reciprocate, because it sounds like Mike did not, he was like, nah, like, go to sleep. And, but I mean, it shouldn't have gotten to the point where she was like that anyway. I mean, if she's I just can't get over the idea of like her falling and you can hear it hit the ground.
And after this, she's like still wanting to keep partying. Like, she just doesn't have the wherewithal to be like, no, I need to stop. Like, it's a mess, whole mess.
Such a mess.
But anyways, Michael was like, nah, dude, like, you're not drinking anymore, you are like a mess right now. And so
he probably, sorry to cut you off really quick. No, you're fine. He didn't really know her, so I'm also thinking he might have been like, this is uncomfortable, you're super drunk, I'm a guy, I don't really know you, like, I don't want to be caught in a situation either. I don't get the vibe she even really knew Corey that well. I think he was just her friend's neighbor, so he's probably like, he is like 2 degrees separated. Like, exactly. Michael is just like, who
is this random girl?
Exactly. And honestly, what Michael probably thought, and just putting myself in a situation, he probably saw his drunk friend come back with another drunk person, and it's 2 of them, and he's in college, he's not stupid, so he's probably thinking like, okay, this is about to be some sort of situation. But then Corey throws up, and this girl is clearly, and he's like, okay, this is a bad situation. You go to bed, you need to sleep, at least on the couch, or go home. Like, something needs to be done.
He's just trying to like set out the fires. So eventually then Lauren went to Jay's apartment, her friend, because he is her neighbor, lives right there. He was just like, all right, dude, she's your problem now. And so when she arrived, Jay noticed that Lauren had a bruise under her eye. And he assumed she had fallen because of how drunk she was. And Lauren was like, I don't know how I got the bruise, because she's like messed up. I'm guessing that's probably like what you were talking about, Mallory, the girl who heard like when she fell like face first, and like she doesn't even remember falling, or she's probably not feeling any pain right now, like how drunk she is. So she's like fully like in a bad place.
This is definitely one of those situations where like at my college you would have called to get her stomach pumped. I feel like that's how drunk she sounds. Like,
call like campus safety.
Call public safety and be like, hey, this girl needs to go. And but anyway, continue.
So Lauren left Jay's apartment then, and that is the last known sighting of Lauren Spierer.
And fun fact, well, I guess not fun fact, so there's cameras everywhere in that area. The cameras never picked her up leaving the apartment. They picked her up going in, but they never picked her up leaving the apartment because the cameras didn't work at the apartment complex, and then none of the cameras in the town picked her up. So
yeah,
that's pretty much the story. Yeah.
Yeah. But following that, then Jay made 2 phone calls to friends, and neither picked up, and he didn't leave voicemails for either of them. But yeah, Jay basically said that he like watched her like cross the street towards her apartment, and as soon as he couldn't see her, that was it. Like nobody knows what happens after that, or at least that's the story.
Yeah.
She was barefoot, had this bruise under her eye, didn't have her cell phone, didn't have her purse, didn't have her keys because she had lost them.
Keys. Yep.
And she was wearing black leggings and a white shirt, and just this barefoot girl like wandering at 4:30 in the morning.
And a reminder, she I don't know if you said this, but she was 4'11", 90 pounds.
Yeah, she's teeny tiny.
Tiny. And another thing, okay, let's go back before I say this other thing I was thinking of. So the beginning of the night, I think we can go through it and maybe like just discuss. So sorry, mine going 1,000 miles right now. Okay, so before I say that, she also had a heart condition. That's another thing to remind people. So she is completely intoxicated, like drunk as a skunk, as they say. And she also has a heart condition, and she's teeny tiny. So these are like a mixture.
Very, very high risk behavior.
Yes. And want to clarify, we're not blaming Lauren at all. But we do want everyone listening, especially like our young college girls that do listen, and people who are going to college. And also too, it's almost going to be, when this comes out, it will either be Christmas break or almost Christmas break. And this happened at the end of her semester. So I know how it is at the end of the semester in college. You're like, oh, thank God. So you kind of want to like chillax, and then you're kind of celebrating. So then things escalate. So I do want you guys to just listen to this and be aware. I don't want anybody to feel like scared. I don't think you should be, fearful of everybody coming out, because I mean, when we get to theories, actually, let's do theories now.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, following all of that, her boyfriend, Jesse, was the one who ended up reporting her missing, because he texted her phone, and he, like, a bar employee, like somebody who found her phone at the bar, responded basically saying, like, your girl left her phone here. And then, like, after nobody could get in contact with her, nobody had seen her, she wasn't at her apartment, he reported her missing. And that's kind of how this all started. So,
and that's good. I think that, to me, that's good in his favor, that he did all that. He tried to find her and he reported her missing, and it was within a couple of hours, I believe, of realizing like, hey, nobody knows where she is.
He didn't waste any time. So I mean, I personally don't think that he was involved. I don't really, from everything I read and watched, I didn't really see a lot of evidence pointing to that.
I don't think he is either. I know that a lot of things that people point to that he has to know something, is the lawyer thing, and about how his family, he searched for her 2 days. I think it was like that Friday, Saturday, and then he withdrew from the school, and his parents took him back to New York.
Right.
And I know some people think that's suspicious, but like the reality is, the first person they're going to look at is him, and his parents were smart. Like, we both have taken law classes. I mean, you're getting your JD. Eventually, I'm going to finish getting my master's eventually one day. And we know, like, in class, you need to be on the offense at all times. It's smart for you. If a situation like this, you should automatically don't say a thing to anybody. Do not don't say a thing to anybody. So I think that was smart.
I think that probably was their thinking behind doing all of that too, pulling him out of school and everything. Like I think he comes from a very like wealthy family with, they have money, they have resources, and they see what's happening, and they know, okay, we need to be smart here.
Yeah. And so I don't think that makes him look guilty. I know a lot of people like on Reddit and stuff are like, this is so suspicious. I'm like, no, it's not. It's smart. And if you have the money and the time,
we need to keep in mind too that he is like a college student too, and like this is just what his family is telling him to do.
Right.
They're trying to protect themselves,
and he's probably not even thinking himself. Like if I was in that situation, I would probably be on full like listen to whatever my parents say mode. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
even at like absolutely. 21, I cannot eat, like especially at 21, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so there are 3 main theories as to what happened to Lauren, and I'll go into all of them. We'll start with the accidental overdose theory. So basically Lauren's friends and her boyfriend and like several people reported that she had used drugs and drank alcohol on the night of her disappearance. And kind of like some evidence started to come out that she like might have been abusing drugs. Because I guess Jesse's mother claimed that Lauren had been asked to leave summer camp years before this because she had been caught using drugs. So she said, quote, "This poor little girl is not with us today because of her drug abuse," which I think that's kind of a hefty claim.
That's a huge claim. And as a mom,
considering there's not any evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
And that's a little victim blamey too, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
But she's trying to not, I don't think that was the right call, but she's trying to protect her son. She's trying to
deflecting.
She's deflecting. She's deflecting. So. But especially because like they were dating for like 3 years. So you would think that she would even see her as a daughter. So you wouldn't want to say something like that. But I mean, she just put it all out there. Every podcast I listen to, they mention that the mom said that. I think that's a bit much.
I know.
I wouldn't have said that, but she's trying to get the heat off her son. So things moms do.
Well, on September 2nd, 2010, which is 9 months before Lauren's disappearance, Lauren was arrested on charges of public intoxication and illegal consumption because she was underage.
I don't think I heard this either.
So she has that charge, and then police also found a small amount of cocaine in her bedroom following her disappearance. So
I did hear that.
There's kind of like these little things that are pointing to like maybe that she might have had some substance abuse problems, which I think is something that I wanted to bring up just because I think especially with college students, a lot of times it's like, well, I'm in college, of course, like I'm partying, like this, I'm young, I'm living, but it's like, I think that there is a very fine line between I'm young, I'm a college student, I'm having fun, and like having an actual problem.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially in college, they fail to realize that, because when you think of like an alcoholic or like a drug abuser, you think of like a homeless guy in a gutter, or like, a 60-year-old dude who's been drinking every day since he was in his 20s. Like, right. You don't think of like, because it is extremely possible, and it does happen that like kids this young can have substance abuse problems. So I'm curious to know your thoughts, Mallory. Like, where do you think the line is?
Okay, I've been thinking about that too, because you're right. I feel like in college, I mean, even like drinking habits in general, we'll go to that first. The way people drink in college is not like, if you took that drinking habit in college and put it on a 30-year-old in a career with kids, that's an alcoholic. But in college, it's kind of like, that's just what we do. Like, that's just how life is. So like, it does feel like college is a time where like things don't really, I don't say they don't matter, but like you're just doing different things.
Yeah, I will say not real life, it's college life.
Exactly. Like, that's what it feels like. That's how I feel about like drinking. Now and honestly, and marijuana too, because I feel like people I didn't even know what that was till I got to college. And I mean, left and right, people who, the valedictorian, and then anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But when it comes to things like cocaine though, I really do see cocaine as this bigger like drug. But I am realizing though, I mean, I would never do it, like, no judgment to those who do or have partaken in it. I just know that like I would never do it because I just really feel like that, to me, that's a lie. And I don't think it's just like this easy, fun little thing, because I don't know. I've just never heard a story of someone, like I've heard stories of people like trying it, but I've never heard a story of like, I tried it a couple times and then I was fine. I hear like, I tried it. Oh, not for me. Because people who usually try it a couple of times kind of get addicted to it.
It's highly addictive.
Yeah. Like I do have one or two friends that have like tried it, like just to try it. I don't know, that it's never appealed to me, so I've never even thought about it.
Done hard drugs ever.
I've never even thought about it. Yeah. To me, that's I already have an addictive personality. Like I can't even imagine how I would react. Like, I get addicted to TV shows. Like I can't imagine.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, I am never messing with that. I drink alcohol like occasionally.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in social situations with my family, with my fiance, you know, that kind of stuff. Right. And I have tried marijuana in the past, and I hated how it made me feel. I was so anxious. I was like, I'm never touching that stuff again. Like I can't even imagine what anything else would do to me.
So like that's why I don't see it like that. But I have realized though, people see it that way. People see cocaine, people see like LSD, those things. And let me tell the story really quick. I'll never forget. It was my sophomore year in college. We went to this frat party at another school. So our school didn't really, like, there was a party scene, but not really. So there's another school that was like down the street, and we would go to their stuff sometimes. So I went, and I will never forget this. It was this guy who was sitting there by himself, completely like low-key drooling, like dazed, drugged, like he was on something. But I, like sweet little girl from North Carolina, had never seen anything like that. And like I grew up in a very, everybody, I tell this all the time, I grew up in a very small bubble. So I had never seen anything like that. So I was going to the bathroom, and I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, like what? And I like tapped him. I was like, are you okay? And he didn't really say anything. And I was like, do you know where your friends are? And he's just sat there. And then my friend was like, come on, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, what about this guy? She's like, oh, his friends are probably here. And I was like, so we're just going to leave this guy? Like, he's not here. Like, he was just so drugged out. Like, now that I'm older, I kind of know what was going on. But I had never seen anything like that. I had no idea what was going on. It was scary.
I know.
And then we came back and passed, and he wasn't there. Like, he was gone. So I'm assuming his friends walked and took him someplace. But I just remember thinking, like, that scared me. And I feel like, though, that guy is probably, like, the reality is, especially because, like, the schools that were there are pretty decent schools. That guy's probably like a captain of the financial something in his area or something or another, and probably hasn't touched a drug in years. So like, that's what I mean. Like, that era in college, it just feels like people just do all these things, and then all of a sudden they're like lawyers and judges and like teachers, and they're just going about their life as if none of this stuff happened, which makes me think, like, could the cocaine have been one of those things? Or was it a serious problem? I mean, it sounds like, well, here's the other thing too, though. I was thinking about the summer camp. I wonder how old she was at the summer camp when they found the drugs. And then
I wondered that too. I was like, was she like a teenager in high school when this happened? Because if so, that is a huge problem.
I was going to say, that's worrisome. Like, if she really was, if she was like in high school, and then they said drugs. So once again, though, like, do they mean like marijuana? Because some people don't consider marijuana a drug, but I know people, 40, 50 plus do. So and like we said,
was his mom like blowing something out of proportion? Right. Or was like, an innocent teenage thing, or was it an actual serious offense? Like, exactly.
Like, it could have been like, it could have even been something like having one of those bowls things, or it could have been like she was doing meth, like drugs is so broad that they weren't specifying. So back to that. So I don't know. I wonder, like, when, like, it feels like college doesn't count when it comes to that stuff.
See, I think a lot of people have the mindset like, oh yeah, like you can do that in college, but if you're like 25 or older and like still doing that, then you're an alcoholic. And it's like, but why do you get a pass in college?
I've thought of that, because I have said that before. I have said like, if I'm still doing blah, 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 by the time I'm 25, then I probably have a problem. But like, why? And honestly, that's just not healthy. I don't think that's not a good standard for us to have for college. It's not a good standard for us to have for ourselves as women too, because throwing that back in, especially when you're that tiny, and like, not victim blaming at all, but the reality is we should be alert. We should, you know, I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to, you know, be on their like scared or anything like that. Cause I'm very big proponent of like, you know, go to concerts alone, go to the movies alone, do that stuff, like have fun, enjoy your life. But you do have to be, you know, cognizant and things like this. Like, that's why also too, like, I really, if you are going to drink and do all these other things, you cannot do it with people you do not know. Like, I have fun, whatever, but do not, like, don't do that. Like, that
be
is
responsible,
not,
you know, like, take an Uber, be with friends, like, make sure you guys all leave the bar or the party together. Like,
and I'm sorry,
all of that stuff.
Here's the other thing too. Once again, I'm not blaming Lauren, I'm blaming the guy for this moment right here. He knows that she has a boyfriend. Why is he spending the entire night with just her, trying to get to her room, trying to bring her back to his room? He knows she has a boyfriend. Okay,
I don't know this. I wondered if maybe he was giving her drugs or something, and that's why she wanted to hang out with him. Because I was like, if she has a boyfriend, what is she doing with this guy? Like,
that's what I wonder if maybe
like they were doing drugs together, or I don't know. But
that never crossed my mind. That could be it. I didn't think it, to be honest. My first thought was he's trying to get with her, and she's a young girl.
That could have been part of it too. I mean,
honestly, it could be both.
Have a one-track mind sometimes.
Because I'm just like, why are you like, you know, you see how drunk she is, you know, she has a boyfriend, and you're trying to go to her apartment. That just isn't, I don't see how that could be like, I don't see how you can positively take that, because it sounds like the entire night it was just the two of them. You know, if it would be different if like I've have another story. I was out with two of my guy friends, and I feel like that's different. Like if it was like two guys and one girl, or two girls and one guy, like that would be, but it's just the two of them. But funny story about this is a good, like, positive story. I was out with my two guy friends. We were at that bar I was telling you guys about, and it was like the best night. It was super fun. So we're like leaving and we're walking back to campus, and this girl walks up to me and she's like, "Hey, you doing okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?" She's like, "Okay, do you know these guys?" I was like, "Yeah, they're my friends." And she was like, "You don't have to go back with them." I was like, "Yeah, I know, they're my friends." And her friend was like, "She's fine, like, let's go, she's fine." And I was like, "You know what, thank you for looking out for me. I appreciate that."
That is really nice.
That was a really, like, I think about that moment a lot. I'm like, that was really nice. I was perfectly fine. They were my friends, but I was like, that's how we should do it.
It's good for her to just check in and make sure, because you know, like, I feel like we've all seen that stuff where like you see a girl leaving a party and you're like, do I say something? And it's like, if you think you should say something, say something. Yeah. If she's fine, she'll tell you she's fine.
And it's not like, I was flattered. I was like, thank you so much. Like, no one's gonna be mad at you if you see something, say something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's sketch that it was just the two of them. I really do.
I agree. I feel like,
and the drug thing does make sense. And like her, I just hesitate. Okay, so in high school, how I understood all this stuff was very different than going through college and then graduating and not even, like, I don't do all that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I never did drugs, but y'all know what I mean.
Yeah. I definitely way slowed down the drinking. That is for sure.
Stayed up late till 5 a.m. for no reason at all.
Yeah, I definitely don't do that.
Do that. I don't do that anymore. So like, I just see these things differently, because when I was in high school, I would see that and I would automatically go in my head, I'd be like, these people, they're probably that hobo on the street. But really, these people are like judges and lawyers and doctors and teachers and, you know, doing any and everything. Like, they're not like, it's just these couple of years, 4 to 6, or I think it's like 4 to 6 now is the average year people stay in college. It's these 4 to 6 years that are like, something just different about it. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like the time stops, these rules don't apply. And unfortunately, there are some people who keep staying like that, you know, well into their 30s. And that's
I feel like it's, it's easy in college to just form those bad habits and then graduate and have a hard time shaking them, you know?
Yes.
So I think that's another thing too, is you have to realize like what you're doing right now is setting up your lifestyle. Like, if this isn't how you want to be, then start now, you know, cut down on the drinking, maybe only go out one night a week, like have a day set aside for homework and getting your responsibilities done so that the drinking and the partying doesn't get out of control before it's too late.
Yeah. And like have good friends too. I mean, I definitely had friends that and I learned this, like some of my friends that I might study with might not be the friends that I would go out with. And that's partially because we were in different majors, but that's also too because like, you know what, some people, that's your relationship with them. That's just how it is. Yeah. That's your relationship with them. And you know, the reality is when you realize that's your relationship with them, then you need to make decisions, like you need to make better decisions. What I mean by that is like, once you graduate, is this person's probably, you know, if you're going to be in different, you're probably not going to see each other again. You're probably not going to talk that much again. So when it comes to priorities, okay, I have this paper that's due, but I really want to do, so-and-so's texting me. I really want to go do that thing with so-and-so. I do have this paper due. I don't want to mess up this friendship, blah, blah, blah. Well, you don't really have a friendship. I mean, you have a friendship with this. So just make your priorities. Like you have to get your priorities in order. And this lifestyle that Lauren had and that a lot of people have in college just is not sustainable. It's not healthy. And like Abby just said, like some people cannot shake it. Like some people can switch it off. Like I've seen it. It's really weird. It's like, whoa, you are so different. But not everybody can. Yeah. And, you know, the homeless guy down the street, he could have been someone who didn't shake it. Yeah. Not shaming, not trying to, you know, scare anyone. Like that's just reality of the situation.
Basically, yeah. When it comes to substances, you do have to be really careful. Yeah. You know, it's easy it could be easy for some people to fall into a cycle of just, you know, snowballing. And it's like, you kind of just have to step back and evaluate and be like, is this the life I want to be living? Like, do I want to be doing this all the time? Is this healthy? Is this good for me? I think asking ourselves those questions is important.
Yes. And this also reminds me, on the Finding Lauren podcast, there was this girl, she actually went to Indiana University. I want to say it was like 2 years after Lauren disappeared. And she said that is kind of the culture. Like what Lauren was doing was kind of the culture. She said that at parties she had been to, people would just take pills and she said it was so easy to get access to drugs. So that's reminding me too, that maybe it wasn't even really it is a drug problem. Like, I don't want to say it's not a problem, but it could have just been an isolated thing, because the girl was saying how like she doesn't do drugs now or something like that. She was just saying how like in that college, you know, it was just so easily accessible.
Well, and if everyone around you is doing it too, it seems normal. And you're like, oh, everyone is doing this and they're fine. I can do it too, and I'll be fine too.
And that's the other thing too, we could talk about for like 2 more seconds, is I think we have to figure out how to talk about these things, because you're so right. Like if you see your whole life, you're told that like this drug is going to make you crazy and you're going to da-da-da. But you see Mary Sue is fine and still acing some of her tests. Like you're going to be like, oh, they lied to me. Here we go, down the hatch. Yeah. And it's like, we have to be honest with these things. Like we have to be honest, and we have to be realistic too. I think that's another thing too. Like if you know that you're going to go to this place, if you don't want to do drugs, for example, if you don't want to go to take pills, if you're at a pill party or something, if you know that you're going to go to a place and they're going to have a bunch of pills, then don't go to the place. It's hard, but it's going to be so much easier to like fight that temptation when you're not there than being the only one there not doing X, Y, and Z. It's just
sometimes it really is about just setting those hard boundaries for yourself. Like really telling yourself, this is something I'm not willing to do. This is a line I'm not willing to cross, and like actually sticking to it. It's like the going home at 2 a.m. thing, you know? Yeah. Be like, I'm setting a rule for myself. I'm going home at 2 a.m. and then having a lot of fun and seeing it's 1:45 and being like, it's fine. But really having those boundaries and sticking to them, I think, are super important.
That is, I think that is I mean, we're not to the lesson part, but that's a big thing I want everyone listening to think about. Like,
so many lessons from this one.
Yeah. No, but like that's a big lesson that I want to bring up again, though. Like that, just setting those boundaries and sticking with them, because we do have to know your line. I think the saying is like, if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. So if you don't have your boundary, for example, like I said, like cocaine, no, that is a boundary Mallory Finch has. Absolutely. No, that's and then you know, the things worse than cocaine, so meth and heroin, all that stuff. So like that is a boundary. If you don't have those boundaries and you don't stick with them, I mean, who knows? Like, I could be in a meth house. I don't know how that stuff works really. I could be a meth house with a random man that's trying to sell my kids to them. You know, like you have to have these boundaries.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so that's theory one. And really quick. And I want to say another thing too. Like, I want every woman to be two things. I want every woman to be prepared, and I want every woman to have fun, in the sense of like, I don't want women to go out in the world afraid of every shadow, like, oh my god, so I can be kidnapped tomorrow. I am in like a couple of travel Facebook groups and other Facebook groups with women, and people are just always like, I don't know if I should do this and that. I'm by myself. Like, this perfect example, this girl posted her friends can't go to this concert that she's been wanting to go to for years, and she asked if she should go, and she's like, well, I'm scared I'm going to be kidnapped. Well, the reality is you're more likely to be kidnapped, or you're more to be kidnapped than human trafficked. You're more likely to be human trafficked by someone you know than someone you don't know. That's the first reality. And the second reality is people go out and do things by themselves all the time. You just have to be alert. You should know, do not drink that night. You should know, have fun, and you don't have to be afraid. And I think to theory number one kind of just shows it could not be a random stranger. It's possible that it was people who, you know, I was going to say loved her, but people who, you know, knew her. Yeah. They loved her.
She like had a sort of sense of trust with.
Right. So it's not always like the big boogeyman that's, you know, in the corner with his van. It could just, and also too, I want to add like, the theory with the overdose, I don't think anyone thinks that anyone like they maliciously like murdered her. Like, I don't think that's anybody's idea. I really do think everybody that's, at least me, if it was them, it was a total accident and they just freaked out and had no idea.
I think that's the theory, is that like something happened and her friends like panicked and didn't know what to do, and they didn't want to get in trouble, so you know, they just hid the body or something. Lauren's family hired a private investigator to look into like the possibility of a fatal drug overdose. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but he basically said he doubted that this was the explanation for her disappearance due to the prevalence of drug abuse at Indiana University. He notably said, quote, "Every kid's buying pot, cocaine, drinking, pills. I mean, it's all over the place. So that really can't be the motive behind it." And I'm kind of like, but why? Just because it's prevalent doesn't mean like.
And she had that heart condition. Like, I feel like, and not everybody that's on campus there has a heart condition too. I feel like that played a huge role. That's a weird statement to make.
I don't really necessarily agree with that. I mean, I guess he's a professional. He must know what he's doing, but I don't know. I think this is the theory that would make the most sense, just because the other two theories do not have a lot of evidence backing them up.
I agree. To counteract that though, Derek from Crime Weekly, he made a good point that I was like, oh, this is fair. He was like, the thing is, for them to have gone this long without any evidence means they had to have been practically professionals. And if they're all drunk pretty much that night, like, what are the odds? Yeah, what are the odds they're going to be able, and nobody saw them? Because one person was like, well, the co-host Stephanie was like, what if they could have put her in, like, she was small, so they could have put her in a duffel bag even. And but it's like, who would not have seen them with a duffel bag at like 6 a.m.? You know, like, it was done so professionally. It's kind of hard to believe that these college like teenagers, pretty much like 20, 21-year-olds could get away with something like this. I think this is the most likely, but hearing him say that also is kind of like, I don't know, man. Yeah. But I do think, I agree, this is the most likely, I think.
Yeah.
Because sometimes last thing. You're fine. Sometimes what is it? How does that saying go? It's like the most obvious answer is the answer or something like that. Yeah. And I feel like this is the most obvious. Like this isn't as far-fetched as the other ones.
Yeah. So the second one is the Stranger Abduction. Basically, like you said, the only reason they have to believe that is because they have no evidence. So then like the next likely assumption would be that it was someone who was a professional who like knew what they were doing, had it all planned out. But so basically just police haven't ruled out the possibility of it. But Lauren's parents have been quoted saying they do not believe that this is what caused her disappearance.
So this is so I'm like 73rd. I'll say 65, 45. Is that?
30.
Yeah, 65, 35. Yeah. I'm like 65, 35, and 35 being this one. The reason why I do have such a high, like, this is possible for this theory is because, like, I mean, she just disappeared. There's like nothing of her. And this theory was put on by Crime Weekly as well that I thought was very, like, They said, so the abduction could have been by, let's say, another drunk student sees her walking and hears her, or like, it's like he wants to continue partying too, or something like that. They go to his apartment and they continue partying, and an accident. She overdoses or something like that. And he freaks out and he disposes of the body. So that's one of the things. Or it could be like one of those professional serial killer, like Israel Keys types. That could have been, because I mean, I hate not victim blaming, but she was the perpetrator's like perfect, like she's tiny. I mean, she's tiny, 4'11", 90 pounds. That is tiny. She's tiny. A man could eat. I mean, a weak man could just hoist her up.
Yeah.
And probably
she's like not all there because she's
not all
so
there.
Drunk. Like, yeah. So she would be a very unsuspecting person to just grab and take.
Exactly. And they could do it quick. The only thing, so to like counteract that theory, I thought about is like, what are the odds though that there's no surveillance at all of her? Like, what are the odds that like someone who kidnapped her, or like even like the drunk student theory that Derek suggested that too, like what are the odds that they did it so well? I mean, what I'm thinking is she goes missing, and because no one knows that she was with him, I'm assuming it's a him, no one knows that she was with him, he has time to like think about a plan, I guess. But I'm just kind of like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds? Or it's kind of like that. I don't know if you know that case where the girl, she was murdered in her Florida apartment and they got the guy, but the one time, like it's one of those cameras that like takes the photos instead of like filming the whole thing. And that millisecond that they have of the camera is of a post. You cannot see his face. And it's like the craziest, like once in a billion chance. And I feel like that, I mean, it could be a situation like that where like someone took her and like it was just like right at that time they knew that there was not going to be any camera, or it was just like good luck, where I don't like saying that, it was just chance. Chance is better. I don't want to say good luck, that's not right luck. But yeah, I 35% think this.
So then the third theory is the Daniel Messel theory, who basically in 2016, he was convicted of the 2015 murder of Hannah Wilson, who was also an IU student. There's not any connection. He got caught very quickly because he didn't do a good job hiding her body. And I'm like, how did he do so well then with like, if he is responsible for Lauren, how did he do so well hiding her body or whatever he did, and then screw this one up so bad? Like, this one, I'm just kind of like, nah, I don't.
I think this is just grasping at straws, and
they're trying to find something to go off of. And I mean, I think that's a good thing that they're like actually following up on all of these things that that could be a possible lead, but this one, it isn't doing it for me. So those are the 3 theories. I mean, she's still missing. She's presumed dead at this point because it's been more than 5 years or whatever.
I think it's 7. Yeah.
7, is it? Okay. I think it depends on the state. I'm not sure. But
that's true too. It probably depends on the state.
But
so,
that's the story.
And I think about, like, between the 2 theories, I just think about, like, who someone knows. At the end of the day, someone absolutely knows what happened. It's not like she just
people don't just vanish. Like, somebody knows what happened.
Somebody knows. And whether it's the boys, who if it's not them, I feel really bad for them, because the parents tried to sue all of them. And people still to this day, like, I know that the girl who runs the Finding Lauren podcast, because this is the 10-year anniversary of her disappearance. I know the girl that run the Finding Lauren podcast, she said she like found one of them on LinkedIn, found someone on Instagram, and like, if they didn't do that, that's really, like, I would just, for the rest of their life, they're going to be attached to this case. Like, no one is going to hear, like, Corey, what's Corey's last name?
Oh gosh, what was his last name? Corey
Rosenbaum? Who's Jay?
No, that's Jay Rosenbaum. It's Corey Rossman.
Yeah, no one's going to hear Corey Rossman or Jay Rosenbaum and not think Lauren.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, if they didn't do it, that really, like, whew, that sucks.
That is.
They did do it. I hope that one day they confess, because, and also too, I'm thinking, like, so the people who if it was like an overdose or something, the people who are definitely involved would be Corey and Jay. I feel like Mike was just like, put him to bed.
He just kind of
get her out of there.
It fell into his lap.
Yeah. And I feel like Mike was just probably like, oh God, let me go to my room, lock my door. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to be a part of it. So
I'm going to give this random girl to her friend, and now I'm going to bed.
Yeah. I'm washing my hands of it. I don't know this girl. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
My name is Bennett and I'm not in it. Like, I feel like that's what that's what he did. Like, he was just not trying to be about it. So, but I feel like Jay and Corey, I feel like whatever happened, if it was them, like, they know what it was, and they know to get, like, it had to happen with them together, because also too, I'm thinking, like, if one of them did it, I doubt that, they would all be working together to keep this secret. Like, I feel like that's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Don't do a crime with me, because I'm not going to jail.
I will turn you in.
I will turn you, and I won't think twice about it. So do not do a crime with me. I am not.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. Definitely the same.
Yeah.
So,
do not.
Tell me, Valerie, what is your biggest takeaway from this? I know there's a lot.
Okay, biggest takeaway. I think my biggest takeaway, I think I have 2. Number 1 is really, like, be alert, and, like, don't be so, I just feel like if she wasn't so inebriated, there's so many things that it would have turned out so much better. Whether she was, I'm not even going to acknowledge the Daniel thing, but whether she was, taken by a stranger, or whether something happened because of, like, a medical issue and they were still there. If she had just, like, had stopped for the night, stayed alert, I really do think she would still be here.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is too, I think, like, it's not the friend's fault, because, I'm sure we all have had that friend that's like, no, I'm fine, I'm gonna go, and you're like, please stay, and like, no, I'm gonna go, please.
There's no stopping someone at that point.
So I'm not gonna blame the friends at all, but I do, like, I want to be the person who is just like, come on, please, you've got to stay. Like I want to be more alert with that, because I know that there's times where, for like, once again, not blaming Jay, because it's not his responsibility. I mean, it would have been great if he had just went ahead and walked her to her apartment. That would have been fantastic. But it's not the end of the day, it's not his responsibility, especially when he offered her to stay in her apartment or stay in his apartment and he didn't necessarily want her to go. So I'm not blaming him, but I would like to be better at, please just stay with people. I like to be better at like, hey, like, that's probably not a good idea. Yeah. Those are two things I got from that. Yeah. What about you?
Definitely. I think, I kind of have two also. I think kind of going off of what you said, I think it's important, like, because like, I don't think there's anything wrong with like partying in college. Like, I think, a healthy amount of it is okay.
Healthy.
Like,
yeah.
But I think that really people need to have safeguards set up for themselves. Like I said, draw those boundaries with yourself and really stick to them. And if you are going to go out, like, have a game plan, like go out with friends, make sure that you guys don't leave each other places. Like if you go to the bar together, leave the bar together. If you go to the party together, leave the party together. Make sure like you looking out for one another. Make sure everyone gets home safe. Like, and obviously like plans change, but just like really ask yourself, like, is this a safe thing to be doing? Like, and just, just really be aware with that kind of stuff. And I think my other takeaway is just to really like watch the substances. Like, in college, obviously everyone's drinking, everyone's partying. It seems really normal, but just because someone else is like getting drunk every night and still has great grades doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. And I just think it's a slippery slope, like I said, like of being like, it's fine, I'm in college, I'm having a good time. And then all of a sudden real life hits and you have like actual stressful things happening. What do? You have a drink every night to chill out. And it's like, I really think that it's just something that people have to watch out for and just really be aware of, and reach out to friends too. Like if you suspect that your friend has something going on, or that, I mean, obviously not in an accusatory way or anything, but just like really keep an eye out for one another. Like if I think if Lauren had some good friends who saw like her kind of spiraling like this and getting into cocaine and like all of this kind of sketchy stuff, and they said, hey, Lauren, like, this isn't you. Is everything okay? Like, I think that maybe they could have put a stop to some of this before it like got so out of control.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. And I just want to reiterate with everyone too that like this isn't like college doesn't have to be this big crazy like I'm doing drugs, I'm sleeping with everyone, and because everyone around you is probably going to be doing that, is going to feel like you need to too, but it doesn't have to be. And there's nothing wrong with going out dancing with your friends and having a good time, but you do need to have those boundaries, and you need to come up with those boundaries before you make any decisions. Because if you just go into life and you just go into doing things just willy-nilly, you're going to fall for everything.
Absolutely.
Last thing I want to say is on the Crime Junkie episode, they talked about this program, which I want to highlight and suggest for everyone. It's called Rachel's First Week, and it's by this lady whose daughter's name is Rachel, and within her first week of college, she passed away. She was at a party and she drank a lot and she fell and she hit her head, and her friends like picked her up and like took her to a couch and let her rest. And then the next morning they went to go check on her, like, hey, is she doing okay? And they were like, she looks kind of funky. So they called 911, but it was too late. So she does a thing about like, safe party etiquette, and talks about like going to like going out with your friends and being alert and things like that. So I thought that that's a really good, I'm going to link that in our description bio, definitely show notes. I think that's a really good thing. And if you're a parent listening, I think it'd be nice to like take a look at for your kids. If you're in college, I would look at the website, see if there's any classes, see like get some more information about it. And if you're out of college, I know on the Crime Junkie they said they like raise money and stuff like that. If you want to donate, I think that'd be nice to donate to them too, because I think that is also just really important, because sometimes we go to college and like I said, like I had never seen anyone like that. Like now I know he was like taken a drug and he was just out, and I'm sure he's fine now. But like that can, a lot of people, I'm not the only person who had never seen that before and who was like concerned and freaked out. Maybe at that party I was the only person, everybody just walked past him, but you know, at other schools I'm not the only person. So like I think these things are good to learn before you go there. And you also know you can create your boundaries there, so you can learn about your boundaries. Like, you know what, this person offered me cocaine, I'm not going to do that. Oh, this random pill, I have no idea what it is, where it came from, you're just giving me a pill, I'm not going to take that. I think that's super, like it's just super important to know. So yeah, something like that. Anything else you want to add?
Man, just stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah,
what I want to say.
Smart decisions.
You're all smart people.
Yeah.
You know? Just if something feels wrong, then you're probably right, and you should go home, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Listen to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will let you, like, that little feeling you feel when you're like, you know what, it's 2:00, they're still out here. I think I'm gonna head home. Listen to that. Like, don't ignore
you're
that.
never going to regret calling a night early. You're not gonna miss anything. I promise. The same party will happen next week.
And there will always be another fun time.
Yes.
Always.
Mm-hmm. Right, cool.
And then just a description, I'll post pictures of her on the website and everything. Lauren is, like I said, she is 4'11", 90 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, and white, I guess, obviously. And you know, if you see her or anything like that, there you can, I don't know a website or anything, but you can know to literally Google Lauren.
There's something important. Yeah.
As soon as you go, I'm sure the first link will have who to contact. So if you do see her, or if you have heard something or know something that's credible, that will not bog down the investigators, let them know. Because I mean, she's still missing. We have no idea whether she's alive or if she's dead. You know, after 7 years, they do pronounce you dead in Indiana. But who knows? You might know something, and that's why doing missing cases is important. That's how. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.